With the Minnesota Timberwolves' new addition of Patrick Beverly, I thought it would be the perfect time to talk about why you should not sleep on the Minnesota Timberwolves and how with the new addition of Beverly could be one of the best teams in the NBA next season. Because this team will surprise you. The Minnesota Timberwolves have been one of the worst teams in the NBA over the past few seasons, but have a lot of hope and a bright future building around Karl Anthony Towns, also with guys like Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and Malik Beasley. The T-Wolves were the 13th seed in the West last season, but they hope to change that because of their new defensive caliber team with Patrick Beverly. And Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell look forward to a fully healthy season where they can play all games together. A lot has changed since Cat was drafted to the franchise. I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves have only made the playoffs once in Cat's reign with the Timberwolves, but he hopes to change that this next season, as they're getting a very good roster put together and might even have the potential to be one of the teams getting Ben Simmons. As for D'Angelo Russell, he said he's going to be fully healthy next season, of course, if nothing goes wrong. Even though the T-Wolves didn't get a first-round pick in this year's draft, they still made up for it this offseason by getting Patrick Beverly and tons of other great players who can help the Timberwolves win. I would see the Minnesota Timberwolves as like a 6 to 8 seed in the Western Conference next year, just because of all the great players and talent they have, and they have a group that has been playing together for 1 to 2 years, so they have lots of chemistry. You got young guys and studs like Jaden McDaniels as well as the stars. A lot of the great young guards for the Minnesota Timberwolves left the team, so expect Jaden McDaniels to get more points and probably average like 14 points a game this next season. We're still not sure who the team's star is going to be, but here are the candidates. Anthony Edwards, who averaged 19 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists last season. D'Angelo Russell, who averaged 19 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists per game last season. And here's the thing about D'Angelo Russell. He's in a weird position right now because the Timberwolves might look to trade him for Ben Simmons, although I doubt that's going to happen because most people would not consider D'Angelo Russell a all-star caliber player, and the Philadelphia 76ers said they want an all-star player in return for Ben Simmons, but I digress. The point is, D'Angelo Russell is honestly the best player for the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. He had a down season this past year, but I'm sure he can catch up on that. Of course, Towns has been the team's cornerstone for the past few seasons, averaging 25 points, 10 boards, and 4 assists per game last season. And Mr. Malik Beasley was averaging 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. The Minnesota Timberwolves are one of the most interesting teams in the league right now in the sense that some people think that they are going to be really, really good next season, and then other people think they are going to still be really, really bad next season. And I mean, both of them are right in a way. It's true, the Minnesota Timberwolves could be either. They could be a dark horse contender in the West, or they could still be a horrible team that nobody talks about. But I'm predicting that the Minnesota Timberwolves will be a dark horse contender in the Western Conference, maybe a 6 to 8 seed. And a huge reason for that is this. The Minnesota Timberwolves have been one of the worst defensive teams in the league the past few years, but Patrick Beverly is going to speak up in the locker room and say something like defense is not an option and we're going to play it. I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up for Minnesota Timberwolves fans here, but I very well think that the Minnesota Timberwolves could have the best season in franchise history next season, even better than that Kevin Garnett 2004 year. If Minnesota stays where they are at the position they are at and not trade any players right now, they could be one of the most valuable valuable teams in the Western Conference in the next few years. I mean, they have one of the brightest futures in the NBA, but it's just how their front office handles it that's going to depend on what happens. And the Minnesota Timberwolves might even lose their team if they blow it all up and start another rebuild, which probably will not happen because, like I said, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be a great team next season in my opinion, but it still has a very well chance of might happening. Also, over the next few years, Karl Anthony Towns could take Kevin Garnett's place as the greatest Minnesota Timberwolf of all time, depending on what Karl Anthony Towns decides to do with his prime years and not dwindle and waste them away. I mean, because the Minnesota Timberwolves have been the laughingstock of the NBA in the past few seasons, you feel like there's nowhere to go but up if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan like my boy Hindo. He made a Minnesota Timberwolves video just like this, so I'll leave his link in the description. I mean, it has just been a wild ride for the Minnesota Timberwolves in the past few seasons, and they're still trying to build around their young core of Karl Anthony Towns and stuff, but when these guys enter their prime years, that's when they really need to turn it on and gel together as a team. I mean, they can suck right now, but if they don't get it together in the next 2 to 3 years, they could be the worst failed super team of all time. Because, I mean, keep in mind, they have great talent of D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and Malik Beasley. And I mean, keep in mind, those are 4 guys who average 20 or more points per game. Now, I mean, obviously the Minnesota Timberwolves aren't going to win a ring or anything next season, but I would expect for them to be about a 7 seed in the Western Conference, because that is just what they're going to be. I mean, D'Angelo Russell has said, and Kat has said this too multiple times, they're going to be a good team next season, but they don't expect them to win a championship. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Click subscribe, turn notifications on, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. And as always, I'm your boy, Hyper Hooper Basketball, and we're out.